بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Respected brothers and sisters, all praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has given us the day of Jum'ah, a blessed day in our life. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make this day as a source of khair for us. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from all types of evil. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. As we were discussing regarding the etiquettes on which a person should be fasting, so that the fasting becomes an effective component in the life of an individual. And this fasting gives him the essence as well as the light and nur that is required through this ibadah. Because with every ibadah, there is a feeling that should develop in the life of an individual. The ability to do good, the ability to stay away from evil, and especially the quality which this ibadah is serving, that quality and sifa should be in the life of an individual. So we talked about, in regards to fasting, number one was protecting our tongue. Number two was protecting our listening. And number three was protecting our sight, what we look at. Number four is to protect the rest of the body parts, and especially when it comes to consuming, a person should be very considerate. Although this consideration should be throughout the life of an individual, but the practice of Ramadan is to stay away from things that even Allah has made permissible outside the month of Ramadan. So in the month of Ramadan, when a person fasts and he is not considerate about the consumption of halal during the month of Ramadan, then rest of the entire year he does not become considerate about consuming halal. Now there are two things. Number one is something that is halal to consume for sure. And number two is something that is doubtful to consume. So when it comes to that matter, a person should not only stay away from things that are haram, but also he should stay away from things that are doubtful. Why? Because doubtfulness, if a person consumes something that is doubtful, then that develops the laziness in ibadah. And if a person consumes something that is unlawful, then this deprives him from ibadah. So we have to stay away from those things that can deprive us from ibadah, and those things that will make us lazy towards ibadah. So we have to be very much considerate in what we are consuming. This is why Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the person who breaks his fast from even one morsel of that which is unlawful, Allah Azza wa Jal does not accept his fasting. So he will just be doing the hunger strike for himself without any benefit receiving. So this is a very important, that every other part of the body, and especially our consumption, should stay away from things that are unlawful. And then the next point, which is even when you are consuming something that is lawful, a person has to restrict his consumption. Because the purpose of Ramadan and the purpose of fasting is to feel the hunger, and to make sure that hunger stays while even after you have broke your fast. It's not to fill yourself to an extent which defeats the purpose of fasting. Because we don't want to just change the schedule of our consumption. Rather, we have to decrease our consumption. The purpose of changing schedules is so that we can decrease on it. It's not that if a person, he consumes himself in the beginning of the day and towards the end of the day, and the rest of the entire time it is spending in maintaining what he has consumed. So a person eats a lot in suhoor, the entire day goes bad, having heartburns, having other difficulties, And by that time, when few hours have gone just to digest that food that you have consumed excessively at the time of suhoor, and iftar time comes, and then you consume again. And then after that, the entire ibadah of night becomes very difficult. It becomes difficult for a person to stand up in Taraweeh prayer. Because of course you have a heavy stomach. So to move with that heavy stomach becomes very difficult to do things. This is why when you consume, you become unproductive. Most of the work that are done is before lunch, because after lunch people just relax. Why? Because when the food has gone inside, the body is using its energy just to digest that food. So when you have consumed a lot, then the entire Taraweeh, you are becoming the Taraweeh Salah is becoming burden for us, and we are giving taklif to those who are next to us. So that's why a person has to be very considerate. That the month of Ramadan is to feel that I am able to gain what the month of Ramadan is offering for me. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the ability to practice these points in our fasting as we enter the holy month of Ramadan, inshaAllah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to fulfill all the things that Allah Azza wa Jal wants us to do in the month of Ramadan, and give us the ability to preserve our ibadah, what we perform in the month of Ramadan, so that becomes beneficial for us when we depart from this world. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Jazakum Allahu khairan. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu.